Welcome to Avery Point Light. This lighthouse is located in Groton, Connecticut. I chose to do this project on papered background. I went to the Wikipedia website and I found the history on Avery Point Light and typed up a synopsis of what I found. Sort of like what you used to do when you were doing book reports or any kind of reports for school. Elementary school. Then I printed it off on a laser printer, not an inkjet. Inkjet printers will bleed because it's just like a watercolor on top of the paper, whereas a laser will melt it into the paper and make it permanent. You can tell it's laser because when you touch it, it'll be warm when it comes out of the machine. So when you put your watercolor over it or any kind of medium over it, it won't bleed. This is a piece of foam core cut to 11 by 14 to fit a standard size frame. I like doing things in standard sizes so that it makes it cheaper when you go to the frame shop to buy a frame or even just to mat it. Here's a standard 11 by 14 mat which has an 8 by 10 opening, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to place the words, the lettering, on here so that I have a little bit of a margin on the left and top. I'm going to have a bigger margin on the right and bottom because that's where most of my painting is going to be. I'll put the lighthouse here and the sand and water and whatever here. So I want this to be up there. Now I want also to pay attention to the edge so that it is straight on, and see how it's a little bit, I don't know if you can see it, it's not quite, well, it's not quite lined up. So I'm going to take it so that I line that up. It's squared off, what we call squared off. And you can do the same on the side and make sure that's squared off there. When you lift this up together, place it on your surface. Make sure it's still squared, so it looks good. Now what I'm going to do is hold down my paper and lift my mat off. I then will take my pen. You can do it with a pencil, pen or pencil, doesn't matter. Line this up and go across. Typically just two sides is all you really need. And that gives you an area to which you're now going to line up your paper. I'm going to use decoupage for paper. This is where those little handy dandy cups come, whether it's from your Parmesan cheese or Greek yogurt or any cottage cheese, whatever you have those containers, then save them because you can pour a little bit of this into that or your varnish or anything, and that's what we repurpose these for, so you don't have to waste your palette paper. Make sure this is cleaned off. What I'm going to do is I'm going to apply a lot of this decoupage for paper right onto my piece, a little bit over the edge, just in case you don't get to the edge. You don't want to lift the paper. Don't leave any gloppies. And if you move real quickly, you can get that whole area covered. Then what you want to do is carefully place this on. I'm going to do it upside down so I can get to this corner. You don't want to have to move this once you've put it down. If you have a brayer, use it. If you don't, use your hands. Work it out from the middle. As you see, this stuck a little bit. See if I can lift it a little bit and straighten that out. When I pulled it up, it lost its tackiness. Go back and add some more of this and then start again. Move it out. If it starts to pucker up on you, don't be too concerned. After it dries, it'll settle down. I'm going to go around the edges on top of the paper, some underneath, and then put pressure and bring it down. What I'm going to do now is going to wait for this to dry, then I'm going to reapply decoupage over the whole thing and let that dry before I go to tracing on my pattern. So I'll be right back. Now that the paper for the history of the Avery Point Lighthouse is dry, I went ahead and while it was drying I traced the pattern onto some tracing paper. And I placed it on the paper underneath the mat. I want to square off my lighthouse so to make sure that it's not a leaning tower of Pisa. There's a couple ways of doing that. One is to use the T-square. Another one would be to use the edge of your mat. So you could hold the paper down and follow the mat against the edge on the bottom. These lines here aren't necessarily true because the lighthouse tends to be on a slant this way. So really what you have to do is take the paper, proof the lighthouse by folding it in half, having the edges meet. That is your middle line, the line that is here. That's what keeps it straight up and down. So I'm going to place it on my paper again, and I kind of want the words to come out of the right side, and I want it a little lower. So if I put this on, now I have that line here to square off. So if I like the placement of this lighthouse, I'm going to hold it down, lift this off again, place my graphite underneath it, and I'm going to gently trace on the outline. And then I'll be right back.